Welcome to Special Topics in Media Studies, a course where our emphasis this cycle is future shock science fiction film. We are looking at a different feature each week and a different core theme or themes relating to future shock each week. This screening and media studies journal also includes some key readings. I'll be remiss not to mention our master texts for this course, Rick Altman's Film Genre from 1999, in which we continue to add layers of understanding about how genres work, how genres are mixed, what the history of genres are, and how they formed and reformed over time, these conventions and inventions of that constitute this formula. But also, Keith M. Johnston's science fiction film, A Critical Introduction, has been a beacon for us and provides a healthy orientation into the genre, specifically of science fiction, of which we find future shock a subgenre variant. And Johnston's work is essentially catching us up to present. In this week's readings, we're looking at content that brings us up to 2010. What a perfect stopping point, because our week 5 feature, as we conclude this abbreviated, accelerated version of the course, is The Hunger Games from 2012. All right, and so The Hunger Games, adapted from the best-selling YA novel series, right, or young adult fiction, I guess science fiction in this case. And this series kind of caught fire, and here we go, right, where we'll try to avoid too many of these puns, but was the kind of book series that was suddenly on everyone's like Christmas list for this window of time. And as these things happen, it didn't take too long, and they were up and running, ready to begin working on a cinematic translation of these works. And if you've read the novels, you'll like always with translation, maybe small things will change, maybe large things will change. And perhaps that's yet another reason why genre theory could be such a useful tool in our repertoire as scholars, as writers, as master chief communicators, is understanding how language changes. And when we look at mass media, these are each language sets, right? Literature is written language, whereas cinema is a visual language. But it's more than that too, right? It attacks the senses on many fronts. And so alongside that, we have an adaptation, right, starring a kind of up-and-comer, right? Someone that, for those that were familiar with Jennifer Lawrence, they saw a spark, right? But this was definitely the kind of text that catapults someone into superstardom, not only as a sort of actress, performer, or leading lady, but definitely as a kind of celebrity, right? And a powerful symbol in American culture, which is a great irony, because this book series is often about what happens when people become symbols in fictional settings, or maybe amidst civil unrest. And certainly humans as symbols remains a potent connection to things we're seeing in 2020, right? 8 years after this original film. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. And as we sort of use future shock to compare our present and recent past media artifacts to our present, if not future present, potential futures ahead, let's look to some inspirational aspects of Alvin Toffler's Future Shock, the written work from the early 1970s. And I drew away 3 specific tenets from Future Shock that I feel align with our feature this week. Each of these is likely a recurring tenet now that we have crossed over through a total of 5 features here. But the 3 that I pulled for this week include temporary commitments to people. And what does that look like? And I think this is an interesting way to spin that wording, that phrasing, when you think about the premise of this film, which I'll briefly outline in a moment. Second, the disposability of things and people. And noteworthy, we looked at it in the past with regards to technology and maybe the ways that that society kind of consumes and quickly disposes of items and perhaps people. But the disposability is an interesting theme given the framework of this film and what it seeks to accomplish. And then third, this idea that change is out of control and it results in a kind of dehumanization where replaceability of people is everyday recurrence. So for our film focus, things to look out for in this feature. All right, so The Hunger Games is wrestling with themes concerning mass mediating violence, something, again, prescient in the 21st century. I think at its core, it is a series, whether it's the book series or a film series, it's a series about class division. And anytime you have an imbalance in class structure, you're likely to witness civil unrest. You can perhaps not look for outright civil unrest in this feature so much as look for it functioning as a kind of Gothic convention, as something that's bubbling beneath the surface, right? Simmering, stewing. It hasn't boiled over yet, that is to say. So civil unrest, something we can be aware of. And anytime there is a power imbalance, right? A division of class will always be looking for a savior figure. And thus we can purport a need for a different type of hero, or in this case, heroine, as we shall see with the titular character, Katniss Everdeen, played by Lawrence. And finally, it's noteworthy, and a theme that won't play a heavy role in the first feature, but grows as the series progresses, is the political spectacle of entertainment. And perhaps there is a way in which you can kind of think about that master term spectacle as it relates to this feature. Other terms that maybe carry over from week 4, the way we looked at surveillance culture. I think this is a film that is reflecting on a surveillance culture type of society. This is a dystopic society in the way that it's structured or restructured. We have this essentially a kind of alt-world tale of Panem, right, which is divided into 12 districts, thank you, from which a kind of lottery is performed. The lottery, a callback to a very famous literary short story, right, the same name. And so within this lottery, there is a kind of selection process for representatives. And this selection process, seemingly noble in some ways, definitely has nefarious means in other ways, as we shall see. And thus, a need for representatives emerges, and these representatives will take part in a ceremony of sorts that should be familiar both to those that study the past, as in the ancient past, as well as those that study future shock, all right? Other texts in this genre that come to mind include perhaps Rollerball, the 1970s sort of death sport games type of feature. There will be a visual allusion to something we've seen, perhaps in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, but expanded for updated appeal. And so here we go, our feature to close out an accelerated version of the special topics in media emphasis on future shock science fiction film from 2012, The Hunger Games.